Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. When Viktor Frankl, already a renowned psychiatrist in Austria, was captured and transported to the Nazi concentration camps, the world he knew ended. In those first shocking hours after arrival, stripped of his clothes, possessions, and dignity, Frankl faced a chilling reality. Everything external that gave a man his identity, his name, profession, achievements, was instantly erased. A person became nothing more than a number, a shaved head, a skeletal body in ragged clothing. The brutality was swift and casual. Life was so cheap it could be extinguished by a gesture, a whim, or a simple glance from a guard. This harrowing loss of individuality was more devastating than any physical torment. Yet, even as Frankl witnessed men crumbling under this dehumanization, he also observed something extraordinary. Some prisoners, even in the face of unimaginable suffering, managed to hold onto a spark, something deep within that the SS guards could not strip away. This observation planted the seed for what would become Frankl's life's work, the understanding that the ultimate human freedom lies in choosing one's attitude toward circumstances, no matter how dire. Life in the camps, days of hunger, nights of despair. The daily existence in Auschwitz and other camps was a relentless assault on body and soul. Starvation hollowed out the prisoners, leaving their cheeks sunken and their ribs protruding grotesquely. Frankl recalls the gnawing pain of hunger that never ceased, a dull, constant ache that transformed even the smallest scrap of bread into a treasure. Each day blurred into the next. Grueling forced labor, violent beatings, arbitrary punishments, and the omnipresent fear of death. The chimneys, belching smoke from the crematoria, were a grim reminder of the fate awaiting many. Yet amidst this hellscape, Frankl discerned a profound truth. While suffering was universal, the way individuals responded to suffering varied dramatically. Some prisoners clung to decency, sharing their last morsels of food, comforting the sick, or whispering prayers under their breath. Others turned cruel, betraying fellow inmates in desperate bids for survival. Frankl did not romanticize these realities, but he noted something vital. Those who retained a sense of purpose, who had a future goal or a loved one to return to, were far more likely to survive. Physical strength alone was not enough. It was the strength of spirit that determined survival. Shock, apathy, and the death of emotion. Frankl carefully details the psychological stages that prisoners underwent. The first phase was shock, an emotional anesthesia that dulled the mind against the horror. When Frankl first saw the smoking chimneys or witnessed the brutal beatings, he felt strangely detached, as though watching a nightmare unfold from outside himself. This shock soon gave way to apathy, a protective numbness. Inmates stepped over dead bodies without blinking. They stopped flinching at the crack of the whip or the shriek of a beaten man. This emotional deadening was not a moral failing but a necessary shield. Frankl describes how prisoners learned to suppress all emotions, even joy. When a transport of prisoners was diverted away from the gas chambers, the joy they felt was muted, almost mechanical. Survival demanded this detachment. But beneath the apathy, a choice still remained. Whether to surrender fully to despair or to quietly affirm one's humanity by finding meaning in small moments. A shared glance, a whispered word of kindness, a memory of love. Finding meaning amidst meaninglessness. At the heart of Frankl's experience was the revelation that life retains meaning even in suffering. As he toiled in the frozen fields, weak from hunger, barely alive, Frankl would conjure the image of his beloved wife. Her face, luminous and tender, filled his mind and heart, transcending the misery around him. In these moments, he realized that love, even in absence, could sustain life. Frankl calls this the salvation of man, the ability to hold onto spiritual realities when the material world crumbles. He tells the story of prisoners who found meaning in dreams of their future work, unfinished manuscripts, or spiritual convictions. Others found meaning in small acts of resistance, refusing to steal another's bread, offering comfort to the dying, maintaining personal dignity when everything conspired to degrade them. Through these examples, Frankl makes an unforgettable point. Suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning. Pain endured with purpose can become a kind of triumph. The will to meaning beyond pleasure and power. As Frankl survived and later reflected on the camps, he came to reject the dominant psychological theories of his time. Freud had claimed that human beings are driven primarily by the pursuit of pleasure. Adler emphasized the drive for power. Frankl's experiences shattered these notions. In the camps, pleasure and power were stripped away, and yet some men still found reasons to live. Frankl concluded that the primary human drive is the will to meaning, the desire to find purpose in life. After his liberation, Frankl developed this insight into a new form of therapy, logotherapy. Unlike traditional psychoanalysis, which delved into a patient's past traumas, logotherapy looked forward. It asked, what is the meaning of your life? What unique task awaits your fulfillment? Frankl believed that even in the midst of suffering, each person is called to find meaning, and that this search is not a luxury, but a necessity. Logotherapy in action, healing the soul. Logotherapy is based on the conviction that life has unconditional meaning, and that human beings are free to respond to life's demands with responsibility. Frankl shares poignant stories of patients healed not by analyzing their neuroses, but by reconnecting them with purpose. A suicidal man, grieving the death of his wife, was helped by realizing that he had been spared to bear her memory with honor. A young woman facing terminal illness found peace by dedicating her final days to inspiring others. Frankl's method often involved a kind of existential confrontation, pushing patients to confront the questions life was asking them. What is your mission? Whom do you love? What legacy do you wish to leave? In helping people face these questions, Frankl rekindled their will to live. Meaning was not given. It had to be found, but it was always there, waiting. Suffering as achievement. Perhaps the most revolutionary idea in man's search for meaning is that suffering, when inevitable, can become a human achievement. Frankl insists that while happiness cannot be forced, meaning can be chosen. He writes, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Even when stripped of all freedom except the freedom to choose one's attitude, human beings can assert moral and spiritual dignity. Frankl shares stories of men who faced death with serenity, who forgave their captors, who composed poetry or sang hymns as they marched to the gas chambers. These acts were not delusions. They were affirmations of the human spirit's ability to transcend brutality. For Frankl, suffering is not to be sought, but when it comes, and it inevitably will, it can become the crucible in which character is forged. Modern malaise, the existential vacuum. After the war, Frankl noticed that even in prosperous, free societies, people were not necessarily happier. Many were plagued by what he called the existential vacuum, a sense of emptiness, meaninglessness, and boredom. Having lost traditional sources of meaning like religion and community, modern individuals often turn to hedonism, materialism, or conformity, but these substitutes failed to satisfy the deep hunger of the soul. Frankl warned that when life is experienced as empty, neurosis, depression, addiction, and even suicide become more common. His solution was not more comfort or distraction, but a conscious search for meaning. Every human life has a purpose, Frankl argued, but it must be actively discovered and embraced. Life's meaning is not handed down. It is crafted through love, work, and courageous suffering. Responsibility, the companion of freedom. One of Frankl's most powerful insights is the inextricable link between freedom and responsibility. True freedom, he insists, is not the ability to do whatever one wishes, but the ability to choose rightly, to commit oneself to worthwhile causes, to bear the weight of moral responsibility. Without responsibility, freedom degenerates into chaos. Frankl humorously but pointedly suggests that the United States should complement the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast with a Statue of Responsibility on the West Coast. Freedom, he reminds us, is a tremendous gift, but also a profound obligation. We are free to find meaning, but we are also responsible for how we respond to life's questions. The triumph of meaning, a legacy for humanity. In the final pages of man's search for meaning, Frankl reflects on his liberation and the painful aftermath. Freedom did not come as a joyful explosion. It came slowly, painfully, as the survivors struggled to reclaim their humanity. Some, overwhelmed by bitterness and loss, were consumed by hatred. Others, like Frankl, chose a different path: to rebuild, to love, to teach, to heal. Frankl's life after the camps was a testament to the very truths he discovered within them. He went on to marry, to teach, to heal thousands through his lectures and his practice. His work, and this book, remain a luminous beacon for all who suffer, all who wonder whether life is still worth living. Through Frankl's experiences, we are given an astonishing gift: the knowledge that even in humanity's darkest moments, meaning is possible. And where there is meaning, there is hope. Final thoughts: a guide to the soul. Man's search for meaning is not merely a book about surviving the Holocaust. It is a profound meditation on what it means to be human. Frankl's insights are not lofty theories crafted in the comfort of academia. They are truths forged in the crucible of suffering. His story teaches that the search for meaning is the most powerful driving force in human life. More powerful than pleasure, stronger than power, deeper than despair. For those adrift in suffering, grief, or confusion, Frankl's words offer not easy answers but a hard-won hope. No matter how broken the world, no matter how dark the night, life is asking something of you. You are called not to resignation but to response. And that response, shaped by love, courage, and meaning, can transform even the bleakest existence into a profound triumph of the spirit.